Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Tyler, and today we are going to be going over the best fights in Cobra Kai. Now, before we get into this ranking, I just want to get this out the way. I don't think there's really a bad fight in Cobra Kai necessarily, so this template is already pretty good. I'm not going to change it up. The worst tier is meh, while the best tier is S tier. Actually, I'll just change it to God tier. Put Goff, you saw that. Ladies and gentlemen, let's just get this right out the way. Starting off with Miguel versus Kyler and his group. This was a pretty solid fight, I think. This was a pretty big moment for Miguel during the series. I mean, granted, in comparison to the scope of how big the series gets, this really doesn't feel as impactful in comparison to the other fights later on in the series, but that doesn't take away from the significance of said fight. And speaking of Kyler's group, I'm going to be having Johnny's fight with Kyler's group in solid as well, but probably below the Miguel encounter, as it was growth for Miguel, whereas Johnny's fight was just kind of cool action. Now, next up is the fights with Tommy and the other Cobras versus the dudes in the bar. I'm gonna put this in the same tier as Miguel and Johnny's fight with Kyler's group. I felt like this was just a really great moment for the Cobras to hang out one last time before sending Tommy off. I don't know what fight I want to pick next. I'm gonna go with Miguel versus Robbie season 1, which I found to be a good fight. This fight is pretty good. I mean, we have the two-legged kick, we have Miguel showing no mercy. We just have the story going crazy here, and honestly, I really do like this fight ending the way it did. Now, next up is, I'm trying to find like a season 2 fight. Okay, yeah. Miguel versus Robbie in the school fight. Yeah, this is God tier. This is a step up from not only their fight in season 1, but also set up the two best seasons in Cobra Kai, that being season 3 and 4. So obviously, I just got to put this fight in God tier. Also, the choreography in this fight might arguably be the best in the series. Next up is Daniel versus Johnny, when Daniel goes over to try and get Sam back from Johnny's house, where we have old flashbacks taking place in Karate Kid 1, where we see them use similar moves to what they used in Karate Kid 1 due to the fact that this is their very first fight after the tournament. And the fact that these guys are even also, I love perfectly. I'm so glad that one isn't stronger than the other. And speaking of, we are going to be following up with Daniel and Johnny's next fight, which takes place in season 3. I think this is better than Miguel and Robbie's fight, because we see Johnny just at his very breaking point. Actually, yeah, I'm gonna put this above the season 2 one. I was gonna argue that the season 2 one was better, but honestly, I think I do prefer the season 3 one. Next up is the season 3 soccer game. This is pretty meh. It's just not really a fight in my opinion, and more so kind of a comedic moment, I'm not gonna lie. Next up, we have Chosen versus Danny. I really like this fight. I'm gonna be putting this in the good tier above Miguel versus Robbie in season 1. It was really great to see Chosen's characterization and how he actually grew from his loss from Daniel and actually got humbled. In contrast to Johnny, who basically got miserable and went on a downward spiral, Chosen could never be any better. And just talking about this just gets me a little more excited about season 5 and seeing the interactions with Chosen and the other characters. Now, next up we have Robbie versus Sean, which I'm going to be putting above the meh tier. I mean, this fight was alright. I mean, it was taking place the same time when Tori and the other Cobras were fighting Sam and the Miyagi-Dos at the abandoned warehouse, so it just kept constantly cutting back and forth, and it wasn't even a full fight on its own. But I do prefer this over the soccer game, and plus this was a really great moment for Robbie. And speaking of, we have the abandoned house fight, which I'm going to be putting probably above all of the meh. The reason why I say that is because, again, it just kept constantly cutting back and forth with two fights, so it just was really hard for me to enjoy the fight personally. But I do like the end of the fight with Hawk snapping Dimitri's arm, showing that Hawk is willing to do what Miguel couldn't. And Hawk's arc is one of the best in season 3, so this is one of the big moments for said arc. So obviously, I'm going to be putting this above the rest, but I don't think it gets any better. Damn, I forgot a fight from season 2, and that fight is Miguel versus Hawk. I'm going to be putting this, honestly, probably, yeah, solid. I was going to put it above the rest of the meh, but I think it is a little bit above all of that, just due to the fact that this fight was both of them just going all out. Plus, we have Hawk going on the downward spiral, with Miguel also showing no mercy too. This is all good stuff, but this fight was just way too short. Honestly, I might just put it at the top of meh, just because of that. The fight was literally like 2 minutes long. Now, next up we have Hawk versus his bully. Honestly, I think this fight goes in God tier, probably below the Miguel and Robbie fight as a fight, but in terms of moments, I think this just clears anything that we've put on the tier list up to this point, including Miguel versus Robbie. But again, this is a Cobra Kai fight tier list, and we are judging them based off fights. And honestly, I don't think you can argue Miguel versus Robbie is worse than this. Now, next up, we have the house fight, and we also have Daniel and Johnny versus Kreese. I'm going to be putting these both in God tier, and really this shouldn't even come off as a surprise. Both of these fights are just insane. The season 3 finale might arguably just be the best finale in the Cobra Kai seasons alone, and somehow the house fight makes multiple characters grow in one fight. Plus, Johnny and Daniel versus Kreese and them coming together is just hands down the best fight up to this point. Now, next up we have the season 4 fights, and we'll first start off with the prom fight. I think the prom fight is above probably Johnny versus Kyler's group, but I don't think it gets any higher due to this fight just being kind of short. But I really do like the fight, and I love this whole interaction in general. Next up we have Daniel versus Johnny round 3. I think out of all of the Daniel versus Johnny fights, and it's funny because I have all of them like pretty high, I think this one is the best easily. It's realistic for them to not obviously just get along the whole season, and this entire fight shows that. I also do like them tying and them being relative again, and I also like Johnny not just succumbing to pressure points. And that fight in general is just a banger. Next up we have Terry versus Johnny, which in my opinion, I think is in God tier. I love this interaction. These two are single-handedly my favorite characters in all of season 4. And despite this fight not lasting really long, I just like this whole interaction in general and what it stands for and what it means for later scenes in season 4. And lastly, we have Miguel versus Robbie, which I think without a doubt is the best fight in this series. I mean, come on, the choreography is amazing. Both fighters are literally just in the same tier as each other in power at this point, with Hawk being a little better. And there's actual contentions between these two, like we have Robbie being conflicted with Kenny, but we also have Eli about to score a point, but then the time runs out. This fight is just insane, and plus it takes place in the best season of Cobra Kai, so this shouldn't be a surprise. And this is my Cobra Kai fight tier list. I tried looking up a better template on Tier List Maker, but there wasn't one, and I couldn't just get a picture of every single Cobra Kai fight and make my own. That's just too much work. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to like the video, subscribe if you are new to the channel, hit the bell icon, all that good stuff. Follow me on Twitter, and join the new Discord server. Yeah, you guys heard me. New Discord server. This server, we're just going to be a lot more casual. The other Cobra Kai server was just a little obnoxious, so I just decided to retcon it and make a new server. It's not going to be as debate heavy, it's just more of a chill server, so come on and join in if you want to interact with me and other content creators, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Be sure to join.